Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. After the interview between Bret Baier and Kamala Harris, I thought we needed a special Yinzer Report edition. Salena Zito, columnist to America, joins us. Good morning, Salena. Thank you for getting up early. What did you think of Bret Baier and Kamala Harris last night?
I thought Bret Baier, as always, he's a great interviewer. He was tough with Obama. He was tough with Trump. He was tough with her. Not, extraordinarily so, just trying to get answers to basic questions. And the questions were the ones that are most important to voters. So I thought what he was asking was important for her to answer. The challenge was that she was never going to answer any questions, beginning with the first one. She offered nothing new, and she offered a temperament that, okay, so voters like, okay, I don't like Trump, let's just see what her temperament is like. And she failed that test as well. And so I don't, these events are about opportunity and risk, and there's you weigh both. And I don't think any opportunities came from it based on just watching it at a bar with people, not, just watching their reaction.
Elon Musk found this clip to be hilarious. So I want to play it for everyone. It's already got 13 million views. And what people need to understand is that an interview, I don't know what the audience was last night. Bret usually does between 2.5 and 3 million people. My guess it's 6 to 10 million people. We'll find out today. But Elon was watching, and Musk pointed out that this is simply absurd, ridiculous, and funny. Cut number, I want to make sure I get the cut right, number 10.
Frankly, exhausted of Bret.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
but
people
you're the
have
lever
become.
of power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me.
What do you make of that exchange? Is it what Elon says it is? Hilarious and deadly for Kamala.
Yes, absolutely. She, I've been in plenty of interviews with people who it's a throwaway line, right? And they'll say, you know what I'm talking about. And I have done that a million times and said, actually, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain it? And she could not explain it. And she's trying to create this thing where you know and I know the same thing, except she never started out with a point to make you understand what her point was.
And the way to do that, if you have any skill set, is to say, let's talk about that 79% number, Bret. What part of that is on Joe Biden? What part of that is on Donald Trump? And what part of that is on me? I would argue none of it is on me. I've been the vice president doing my dutiful duties, but Joe Biden has had some bad days, and of course people don't like him right now because she threw him under the bus later. So if you're going to throw him under the bus once, and she did it twice, why not 3 times? But mostly it's because Donald Trump has refused to leave the scene like a gracious ex-president ought to do. That would have been a fine answer. She didn't give that, right? She can't give that. She doesn't have the skill set, Salena.
Well, that's exactly right. And, the press and former staff and current Biden staff have said that over and over again for the past 3 years. They have said that is her issue, among several other ones, but that is her issue, and she's never corrected it. And it was on full display last night.
She was also asked by Bret Baier about President Biden's decline. And here is that answer, cut number 5. I believe, by the way, this is the sleeper cut. This is like the end of Gladiator when the Emperor puts the knife into Russell Crowe and nobody sees it. This is the sleeper cut, cut number 5.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Bret.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
If you're watching this, you might catch the side-eye glance to her staff.
Yes.
And, did you see that, Salena?
Yes, I did. She's looking for help.
She's looking for help.
For wrap it. She's saying wrap it. That was a signal to her staff. It's time to wrap it.
Because I can't defend Joe Biden. And she said, and this made me laugh, from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, that's about 20 steps and 1 flight of stairs. If you've been in the West Wing, I know you have been. It's 20, it's next to the White House mess. I've watched him from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, is nonsensical. Because he is not competent, everyone knows it, but she won't say it. And Bret let her in by saying, you've said this about Donald Trump, this about, he was being nice to her, right? Yeah. And then he comes with the slider that drops 6 inches. What happens? What if you're Joe Biden, what do you think of that interview?
If I'm Joe Biden, I'm really mad, right? Because she does throw him under the bus. But you know, this thing is such a mess for the Democrats that I don't know how they strategically fix it, because I don't know that any of them have come up with an acceptable answer that voters will be comfortable with. And
well, there is no answer to 10 million people in the country, except that it's the Republicans' fault. And Bret pointed out, and she rolled right over it, you had the House, the Senate, and the presidency and reconciliation. You could have done whatever you wanted to do for 2 years, and Bret didn't say this, and all you did was spend $7 trillion. Let me play to you. It's a killer cut, but I don't want to make fun of the fact it involves killing. Cut number 12.
Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago...
Okay, then she goes on to talk about the bill that didn't exist and wasn't even proposed until last year. Was that an apology, Salena, Zito?
3 words. She never apologized. There was no apology.
That's right.
When
you know, you can tell that. You and I could say exactly what she said. That's tragedy. That's terrible. I feel awful for the parents. And we can say that, and we're not apologizing because we weren't in power. Not an apology. Does that matter, Salena? Last question. Does it matter that she would not even apologize to the victims of her policies?
Absolutely. There are mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers that are watching that have known family members or within their own families that have had, tragedies such as that, or have been assaulted or robbed, or their neighborhoods have changed because of rising crime. And they're looking for that apology. They're looking for her to say, I regret. And, I have to point this out because this really gets under my skin, is that she keeps referring to this bill that didn't exist, as to your point, until this year. She derailed his 2018 bill for dreamers. Nobody ever talks about that.
Good point. Bret probably could have gotten to that. But the whole mythology of it's the Republicans' fault, I do think it aggravates everybody touched by this issue. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a weekend at Bernie's bad, versus 10 being Reagan at his most jocular in his friendly interview, where was she on your scale, Salena Zito?
She was a 1.
I agree.
There was no gain there. In politics, it's always about addition, not subtraction. I think that actually was a moment of subtraction. And,
she lost people who might have been open to her. You're so wise. You're right about that. I'll conclude by saying we won't know for 10 days how bad the damage is, but I think the bottom has fallen out on Kamala Harris. Salena Zito, follow her at Zito Salena on X. Follow her everything that she writes at salenazito.com.